Okay, and welcome to the finale of the Purple Rock Podcast, our very first season, and it's a somber moment for me because, Andy, it's your time to gloat. Tell me how Sierra's win made you feel.
In the alternate universe in which Sierra was a victor, I would say my feeling was, really, her?
Oh, it's a good season, and you know why it's a good season? Because Tyson is finally a winner. I almost don't know how to react because I feel as though this was never meant to happen. This is not the Tyson that I knew and loved. Tyson that I know and love would not win this game.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to spend probably the significant part of this podcast talking about the greatness that was Tyson's game this season. And I don't know if it can be measured just how shocking it is that this came from him and the way it came from him. Like, you could envision a scenario where Tyson challenged Beast, maybe just runs roughshod over the game. That wasn't the case. This was an entirely different Tyson. There was basically no previous evidence that this existed.
Speaking of no previous evidence, Tyson apparently has emotions and tears.
Yeah, and people seem to like him despite the fact that he seems like an incredible jerk. So, yeah, I guess, he's plays for the camera, and that was obvious. The very first time I saw that, I was like, this guy's just playing it up for the cameras. But I guess behind the scenes there, he's the fun guy you'd like to have around as long as he's making fun of your enemies as opposed to yourself.
Yeah, he certainly did get a rap as a bit of a bully, and tell me if you thought this too. I thought his apology to Katie about, gloating when he drew the Black Rock groan, I thought he was very sincere in that apology. Did you think that?
I think it was a mix. It's classic tell the juror what they want to hear, but at the same time, we didn't actually talk about that on the podcast. I think we talked about it, in chat rooms or whatever, but because it was an amazing episode, there's so many I should discuss, but that was...
Wait, I gotta interrupt. Chat rooms really makes it sound like we're trolling the internet actually, for certain things. Yeah, that's not what we did.
When I said it, I was like, no. We talked about it on message boards, that sort of thing. I think it was his major misstep of this entire season. It was kind of the one window into the previous Tyson that we knew. So I think he probably did feel bad about it, if not on a personal level, but on that's where I screwed up. He had exhibited so much control at that point that after it happened, he was thinking, oh no, what are the ramifications?
Yeah, and I remember at the time liking it because that was the Tyson that I knew and loved, but at the same time thinking, ooh, that's the Tyson that needs to be in front of the confessionals this year, not in front of the jury.
So, how does this feel, John? Because, I think I have an idea. As much as I'm, trying to be an analytical thinker and try to think of, what an underdog needs to do and how good a strategy is, I was a full-throated, full-on fanboy for Boston Rob when he finally won. And I didn't care that it was against inferior competition or anything. I even kind of envisioned, what would I have done on the island? I would like to think that I would try to beat him, but maybe I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to help Boston Rob win. So, was it kind of like that for you with this year as a Tyson?
You would have basically been everybody else on Token Teams that voted for JT.
It's possible. I'd like to think no, but I can't exactly say no for sure.
Yeah, and actually that was the parallel that I was going to draw here, was you watching Boston Rob season. And I don't think this was quite the coronation that Boston Rob had. Tyson certainly had to fight a lot harder for this one than Boston Rob did.
Absolutely.
But pretty gratifying. Again, I'm a big fan of Tyson for the entertainment value. I don't know that I needed to see him win the game as a player. I just enjoy seeing him on the show. I kind of feel like Cochran's victory last season, it hit a little more home, or closer to home, I should say, than Tyson winning. Just because I had a greater rooting interest in seeing someone like Cochran win. Whereas Tyson, love watching him play, think he's hilarious, but if he didn't win, it wouldn't have made me like him any less.
But fair enough, and it's kind of funny because Rob Cesternino has been talking about this. It's like, imagine after Heroes versus Villains when Rob and Tyson were hanging out, and it's like, hey, in 3 years we're both going to have won this game. It's kind of an interesting little twist. But yeah, as you say, Tyson didn't need to be good at this game for you to enjoy his presence. And through both of his first appearances and his absolute first one especially, it didn't seem like it would be a possibility, and it didn't matter. Like, his role wasn't winner. Not everybody who's cast in the show is because you think they'll be a good player. He obviously had different ideas about that and attacked this game very, very well.
Just as an analogy, if Courtney were to return to the show, I don't need to see Courtney win, but I like having Courtney on the show.
And obviously, being good at it and being a victor ensures that you get more of the person that you enjoy, not, say, voted out pre-merge because they change they basically vote themselves out. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard.
But yeah, I really have nothing but praise. Honestly, I mean, I think I already mentioned the one real negative, and that was such a tiny moment as to be insignificant at that point in the game. There are 4 major phases that one needs to do for Survivor, and Tyson dominated in all 4.
Yeah, it was hard to argue. I mean, even though he wasn't necessarily dominating challenges this season, I do kind of wonder if it was, well, A, possibly would have related to a shoulder injury that he suffered fairly early on, but B, I kind of wonder if he just wasn't really trying. I mean, some challenges he clearly wasn't trying because he sat out, but I think that threat of him winning was always there, which we'll get to when we discuss our final thoughts on Jervis for the season.
Yeah, so the 4 aspects I'm speaking of are, of course, the major 3 that people think of: strategy, social game, and physical game.
And the fourth
one is almost close. It's luck. There's not been a single winner in this game that didn't have some moment of luck that happened to get them in the position. I think with Tyson, the luck was fairly prominent in that he literally won a game of random chance in order to survive in the game. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, as you say, the physical, which you would expect would be his bailiwick, is a fun term to use, really didn't come into play until the end. And that's often where superior strategic and social players can't win because they can't push themselves across the finish line. And as much as this episode that we're probably not going to talk that much about because nothing particularly interesting happened in it, had Tyson not won that Final 4, maybe this entire season is different. Like, I'm willing to entertain the notion that Jervis would have flipped on him at that moment.
Let's get to that later, because there's some discussion to be had there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all moot because it didn't happen.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's important to have some level of physical game so that you can put yourself into position to get yourself out of some of those trouble spots. What's interesting for Tyson, and this also relates a bit to luck, is I think the shoulder injury helped him.
Because it made him a little more vulnerable?
Yeah, so he was target number 1, at least for the other side of the island, when the game started, to the point where they voted out his girlfriend in an attempt to get at him. He injures the shoulder, and then it was kind of a non-issue. Nobody was talking about, Tyson. So a guy who should have always had a big target on his back, to the point where his main ally miscalculated and treated him as a shield, kind of like that ceased to be an issue post-injury. So that was serendipitous. I'm not convinced that he needed it, because he did other elements particularly strong, but, it didn't hurt.
I'm going to make a mental note that next season when we do this, I'm going to have Andy's Word of the Week. Serendipitous and bailiwick are on the short list for this week already.
Well, in my education system, we use those things all the time.
Yes.
But his biggest strength, and I imagine you'll agree, was the social game.
Which, again, kind of surprising if you look back on Tyson's first season. It's not even so much that he has a bad social game, it's just that if you don't love him, you probably hate him. There's generally not like I have no feelings about Tyson, at least in previous seasons. He clearly worked the extremes there.
Yeah, and also just he seemed indifferent to many of the aspects of the social game that are important, I think his alliances he got along with very well. I think in Heroes vs. Villains, he was the linchpin of his alliance. But this time out, he made sure to make personal connections with every single person on the island, whether they were in his main alliance or not, and that helped propel him the entire way. Like, as you said earlier, he faced much stiffer challenges than did Boston Rob in his Coronation season, than even John Cochran did last year. but he was able to stay ahead of those threats because he had the right social game, because the people who opposed threats to him were on his side until it was too late to do anything significant about it, or easily do something about it.
Speaking of indifference, that actually reminds me of one of my favorite Tyson quotes. When he was voted out in his first season, they edited it down for the actual episode, but they showed it online. His quote after being eliminated was, "Oh man, I got blindsided. Now I know how," I think it was Brendan feels. Complete indifference. And that's the Tyson that I wanted back. And we got a little bit of that in the confessionals, so it was enough for me. And I'm glad he won. I will say, and we'll get to some discussion on that later, but I liked a lot of the players in this season. It was just hard for me to rank anybody ahead of Tyson.
No, I mean, to rank anybody ahead of Tyson in terms of, who played better would just be crazy.
I meant people that I would want to see win, ranking them ahead of Tyson. There's, in the history of watching this show, I don't know how many people I'd want to see be successful ahead of Tyson. And not even necessarily win, but people that I want to stay on the show for as long as possible. I don't know how many people I'd rank ahead of Tyson.
So yeah, I mean, we are both in clear agreement that this was a very just verdict, a very worthy winner. How worthy do you think? Okay, that's a dumb question. Completely worthy. But let's do some instant reaction randomly. Is this one of the better wins of all time?
I mean, top half, easily.
Yeah. Is it top 10?
Then you're getting into more like a top third. Yeah, I would still say yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not going to completely land on a number because it was a day ago for one thing, and
right.
Again, we don't have our spreadsheets, but I'm pretty comfortable in saying easily top 10. I could see a scenario where I put it in the top 5. Like it's comparable to some of the best wins that the show has had. It's comparable to Boston Rob. It's comparable to Kim. It's comparable to Brian Heidick in the way that there was never really a point where it wasn't like Tyson is the guy.
Right. And all of those people had luck. Even you want to say that they were in against inferior competition. You can't claim that about Tyson in this season. Everybody, to an extent. I mean, there were some that clearly.
I mean, there's always a few pieces that you can't win, but
you have some pawns in every season. But in some of those other people's seasons, there were a particularly high number of pawns. But Sierra and Hayden just trying to stay in the game and fighting so hard to do so. You didn't see that in some of these other people's seasons when they won.
Yeah, Boston Rob never faced a Hayden or Sierra. Neither did Kim. Heck, even though he lost, I don't even know if Coach did. They were really good players, and yes, they were absolutely a step behind Tyson. I'm willing to give the credit to Tyson for that in his social and strategic game, but I'm also willing to cut them a bit of a break. I mean, Tyson, when they're dealing with something a step below on day 28, that's like day 80 for Tyson in this game. So
yeah, I mean, I give Sierra and Hayden and Fetus to an extent too full credit because, especially for first-time seasons, they were awesome. I mean, all of them displayed some characteristics that we expect from returning players, and let's not get it twisted. They will all be returning players at some point.
Yeah, unless life takes them in different directions, each of them will be asked, and I look forward to seeing all of them. Which, let's get into that. Who else, if anybody, would you like from this season to see again? Or is that the list?
That might be the list. I mean, I might be alone in this, but I kind of want to see how Marissa would actually do if given a chance.
Yeah, she seemed like have a good personality. Me personally, I'm not that jazzed about inviting back people who weren't really on the show much. We tried that, and it didn't work very well.
Yeah, and, we've had people come back that were the fourth boot on their season, Monica, and somehow make it to the end, despite not being a great player.
Yeah. I would say the other person that I'd like to see back from this season is Jervis. We'll get into him a bit bigger, but I enjoyed what I saw out of Jervis. There were certain flaws in his game, but as a personality and as a character, I was refreshingly shocked by his...
Well, let's actually get into the Jervis discussion right now, because you mentioned earlier that it's a moot point to discuss what he did, but when has that ever stopped us?
Oh yeah, I mean, we can post-discuss it. We can just no longer talk about what they're going to do, which is, usually what we do. Our bailiwick, if you will. But yeah, let's break down Jervis's game. Where did it all go wrong?
Oh, man. I have to say most of them had a pretty good opening argument, and Jervis probably the weakest of them at the final tribal. But if his actual strategy was that he was going to cut ties with Tyson close to the end, that's a good strategy to hide behind Tyson, but you also have to make the finishing move where you off Tyson and you step out of the shadows and say, hey, just so you guys know, I was running this the whole time from behind Tyson's shadow. And he never did this. And I think part of it is that he couldn't have done it, even if, like he said, he was going to do it at Final 5, Final 4, whatever it was going to be. A, that's bad planning because Tyson has an immunity idol and a very strong chance of winning immunity himself anyway. And B, who's Jervis going to turn to at that point?
Yeah, his larger point is throughout the latter half of the season, there was never a good time for him to flip, and absolutely, that's true. But that shows that there were flaws in his plan before that. I think right now he's kind of wearing a bit of the goat horns. He finished third in a group of 3 and never seemed to really have a chance. I'm actually willing to be a little more charitable and maybe even say that he was second best. It's just the gap between him and first best was far too great a margin to overcome. And he had no other argument to offer. All he could say is, I did everything that Tyson did, he just did it better and more noticeably.
Well, here's something that all Survivor viewers, at least that have been around since Season 1, or have at least seen Season 1, can agree on. He definitely improved from his first time out.
He definitely improved from his first episode out this season. Kind of what I was getting into is I just liked him. He was a good interview. Like when he would talk about the game and what was going on, the strategy, I found myself nodding in agreement. Like I was shocked. It's like, wow, Jervis gets it. Because you and I were kidding around at the beginning, like, does he even watch the show? And turns out, no, he's a pretty good student. Where he went wrong, other than the specifics, which I think we still want to discuss, like what he could have done differently, is just personality. He let his personality get a little out of hand at a few tribal councils, and it clearly turned people off. And at that point, like, that was the point where you and I were like, Jervis ain't winning this season.
Yeah, he was doomed right then.
Yeah, right then and there at the tribal council where they were trying to flip Sierra and she wouldn't. And obviously there's always an edit, but as we now know, there at least one juror made sure to vote for Monica so Jervis wouldn't finish second. Yeah, that was it. Like, all his strategy you can defend on a certain level. What he needed to do at some point was show people while they were still out there that Tyson wasn't the only person making moves, or even the primary, or he needed to put himself in a scenario where he had outs, and those were the two things he didn't do. So from a gameplay strategy standpoint, those were his flaws, but his biggest flaws were he ran his mouth a couple times the wrong time. And when you contrast that with Tyson did not, other than that Katie scenario. Tyson was very controlled. Tyson was good with people. It's weird we're talking about the same Tyson here.
I know, it really is. And it's funny, too, that the flaws you're mentioning about Jervis are the same sort of things that I expected would just plague Tyson this season, and they never did.
What do you think of Jervis?
Again, big improvement from his first season. Definitely outperformed what I thought we would get from him. I don't know about wanting to see him back again. He had some good confessionals. I think he was a bit delusional in how he perceived his own efforts in the game, though. And I don't know if that was just a show for everybody else. But to me, it seemed like Jervis was convinced that he had played the best game when I don't think anybody else was on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolute miscalculation. His idea was that he would control from behind and let Tyson take the arrows, which has been a decent strategy. It's a tough strategy for him to pull off. That's a strategy that Sophie can pull off.
Or a Cochran. You need to have that, like, basically a timid player type game.
Yeah.
And a Cochran can do that. Sophie can do that. You know, those people that you don't perceive as threats. They're the people that can do that.
And maybe Jervis can do that, but you can't do that and then also talk trash all the time, you know?
Right.
You can't blow up a tribal council and then say that, I was controlling things behind the scenes. At some point, you have to take control, even if it doesn't result in Tyson voting out. You have to articulate your feelings and make moves and let people know that you're the one controlling. And that wasn't happening, and people were telling him it was happening. But that's not just edit. Like, people weren't going to Jervis when they wanted something done. They went to Tyson, and that's all you need to know from a social aspect of who's in charge.
Yeah, basically, Jervis, if he wants to be perceived as a puppet master, he should remember that the puppet master is not the person who sticks his head up over the puppet show and starts screaming at the audience and telling them about what they're doing. The puppet master plays the game behind the scenes and then later on reveals his tricks. Like, he did not execute that strategy well, if that's what he was going for.
Yeah, and absolutely. There's a flaw of execution, but I guess my point of wanting to see him again is that those are fixable areas. Yeah, look at Tyson. To get back to, like, returnees, I think, yeah, that's my list. That said, there's another list of people from this season who do we think will come back. And absolutely Vitas, Sierra, and Hayden are on that list, but I got a few more names that would make us sad. And Brad Culpepper, right? They would ask Brad Culpepper to come back on the show.
They certainly would. They will not ask Monica next time. And as we said earlier on in the season, Monica was asked back on to get Brad Culpepper on this show.
Yeah, this is a good enough time to talk about Monica. She was fine. I know a lot of people don't like her, and, we are people who discuss winners and what people need to do to win. I've been thinking about what Monica could have done to win, and the best I can come up with is a very early in the game, completely hypothetical scenario, whereas she forms a women's alliance. Like, that's basically the only path. If somehow she could, gear up Tina and the Lauras and Kat and then do something there, like, that's a Monica-type player's only shot at victory, and that wouldn't have worked.
Not only that, I will say Monica had what I thought was a great opening argument at Final Tribal. Did you think that too?
It was pretty solid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, made a good case. She basically said, hey, you guys kept thinking I was going to flip, but at a certain point I realized, these people are awful and I think I can beat them. That's my best strategy. Fine, solid reasoning, but now try to beat them. Then she shifts into, after being asked, in her defense, she was asked multiple variations on the same question. But it's not good strategy when people are deciding, hey, should I vote for you to win $1 million? To just start berating them and saying, haven't you ever met a nice person before? Thus implying that they have no nice people in their lives, nor are they nice people.
Yeah, it was one of those where you say things the wrong way. That said, I kind of get what she was getting at, because not only, like, from what we were seeing, they kept just belaboring the same point and clearly weren't looking to vote for her. I think it was a lot worse within the full 2.5 hours it was out there. So she was probably at her wit's end there, and I think the point she was getting at is people were kind of like, we didn't get this about you, we didn't get this about you, and what she was trying to say is there wasn't another level. I was just trying to be nice, and I think it throws people off in a game like Survivor. So, but yes, to imply that, they don't know nice people, and like they themselves or their loved ones aren't. Yeah, that's a misstep, but I don't think it cost her a victory.
No, it definitely didn't. And actually, you're kind of hitting on a point that I wanted to talk about, too. So, Vitas, as you mentioned, on Twitter, said that he knew Tyson was going to win and was merely throwing Monica a vote to get her second place. So, that actually brings up something that we've discussed before. How much of this is already decided? How much do final jury arguments matter? Clearly, in this case, at least according to Vitas, 0%. Because Vitas' thought was, I'm going to give a vote to Monica, which will make her second place. So he knew then that all the votes were going to Tyson, except for his.
Yeah, I think that's probably happened more than once. I mean, like, why did Ralph vote for Philip,
Maybe it was too hard for Ralph to spell Rob, or Boston. He couldn't spell Boston.
Yeah, he would have put 2 B's, and it's like, no, that's the guy from Thailand. Yeah, you're wondering, does that annoy you? I don't care, really. The larger point of this made the Final Tribal Council moot. Well, I think a dominant game like the one Tyson played should render Final Tribal Council largely moot unless he drops an enormous stink bomb all over it. Like, at that point, it's his to lose. And he didn't.
And that's why I don't have a problem with it. Just because, having seen their games throughout the season, what is Monica going to say to you that makes you think, you know what? That just made me view her game in a whole different light. I'm voting for Monica. Same with Jervis.
Yeah, I do wonder if, some of the questioning was that people were looking to Monica to give them an alternative. There might have still been some residual. It's well, it's boring to just vote for Tyson. Let me keep an open mind. And, Jervis, that door was already closed, because it's really the same as voting for Tyson, but Tyson was better. So they're like, come on, Monica, give us something. But they didn't know what they were looking for, because there wasn't any more something there than what she had laid out in her opening statement. To get to the larger point of how often do people change their mind at Tribal Council, I think the answer is seldom, but it happens.
Oh, I would agree that it happens. I just don't know how frequently it happens.
I think one of the reasons why it's infrequent is most survivors aren't very good at Final Tribal Council. They don't really do a lot to earn somebody oh, wow, you really turned me around there. But I think there's been instances where that's happened. I think Chase in Nicaragua earned himself some votes that night by shocking the hell out of people by making logical, coherent arguments. I know he shocked me. And then I think on the flip side, you have somebody like Amanda, who I think went into 2 Final Tribal Councils with a very good chance to win and blew it both times.
Yeah, Amanda is definitely the raging tire fire of Final Tribal Council performances.
But when you're talking about a season like this, other than, Tyson going up and just Russell Hansing the Final Tribal Council, nothing was going to change anyway. So that it didn't matter is just par for the course for this entire episode.
Speaking of didn't matter, we missed discussion on one player from this season who I would lump in the didn't matter camp just to antagonize you.
You can, but you'll look stupid doing so.
I will, and to her credit, Sierra, she's damn sure coming back, and she was one. And again, you can debate her missteps towards the end, but again, you have to view it through the lens of this was her first time playing. I'm sure there were plenty of other great players in this game who made equally stupid mistakes their first time through, and to her credit, she played a great first time game. It didn't win, but it was a great game.
What I find most interesting about Sierra's game is I'm struggling to find a parallel of a player of her archetype and her position, especially early in the game, that was able to flip it so dramatically in the process of the game. Earlier on, you obviously were giving me a lot of stuff she's nothing. I don't see it. Is she even on the show? And it was mostly justified. I'd point out, basically my only thing I could cling on to that point is well, they are letting her talk, and why? Obviously, we found out later the reason why, and it's just, has there been a player, a woman, the young woman?
Would you say Cirie fits this category?
Maybe that's the corollary, yeah, because obviously Cirie was shockingly weak at the beginning of her season, and then by the end, she was the mastermind. I'd say Cirie probably surpasses Sierra in that respect. But again, Cirie was playing with other first-time players, right? But yeah, maybe that's kind of the type. But yeah, usually the Sierra is just fodder. And she wasn't. She mattered. And just kind of taking my own path here. But yeah, taking my own path here, when we started the game, I basically had to draft late in our little fantasy game, and I constructed a reason why Sierra would be a good pick, and I did such a good job in doing that I convinced myself that she was a good pick. By the end, I was a legitimate fan. At that point, I was, in the early stages of our podcast, I was basically just trying to justify my own weird pick, because it would have been boring just to say Aris or Tyson. But by the end, yeah, I was a legit fan. I think she earned it, and she was a unique archetype, or at least one we haven't seen in a while.
Agreed. And I think the other archetype that we haven't seen in a while, although you would think that we had, just because there seems like there were more people like him, but I think Hayden stands out. I don't think Hayden is the archetype you're expecting. Who do you think is the closest approximation to Hayden that we've seen in previous seasons?
I think it's Ethan Zohn. Obviously, the difference is Hayden eventually found himself on the wrong side of the numbers in the way that Ethan didn't in Africa. But yeah, just kind of social, got along with there, and then willing to make moves. But yeah, what's interesting about Hayden, I think what you're getting at, is he seemed like he'd be a physical player. And he was average in that area at best.
Yeah, at best. I mean, he was fine. I don't think
he was never last in
challenge.
challenges. No, he never won any individuals, and the tribe he was on didn't win until they got an influx of Tyson. But like he was contending, so it would have been that scenario where, hey, if something flips this way or that way, maybe it could have gone his way. But it was never like, yeah, watch out for Hayden. But yeah, just strategically and socially, he was a thinker, and when it was time to make a move, maybe he was a few days too late. He also got a fun edit of, I trust Tyson completely. But, he did want to make the move at Final 7, which is traditionally the time to do it.
Yeah, and to his credit, on first appearance, I saw him and thought, this guy does not look like a strategic thinker. Saw that he was Kat's boyfriend and went, ooh, I'm really doubting he's a strategic thinker. And plus, the fact that he looked like a Brad Culpepper type, not high hopes for him. But by the end of the season, I mean, apparently I had judged him wrong because his physical skills were clearly not his biggest strength in the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, early as social bonds, and then, he thought of different ways to try and extricate himself from a very difficult situation, and they almost paid off. It was highly entertaining, and I also just kind of liked him. The more we got to know him, he was the kind of player I'd like to see, in that he treated the game as a game. He attacked it to win, but it was never, a morality play or a commentary on anything bigger than itself. He played to win, and then when he didn't win, it wasn't that big a deal. I liked how his final tribal council question was just basically, when did you find that idol? Because it had been bugging him for like 4 days.
Yeah, you knew it was just gnawing at him. Like, man, did he have it the whole time?
And then when Tyson tells him, he's like,
knew it.
So yeah, I like gamers like that. Bring them on. More the merrier. That's what I like to see more than the histrionics and such.
Likewise, and I think we actually discussed this a bit in the comments recently, but I think what this season proved is you don't need those big quote-unquote personality characters like Colton and Rupert and those types. Just good gameplay is fun to watch.
Yeah, I think what the show would argue, especially in recent seasons, is those big personalities get you through the first few episodes. And what's interesting about this season is they literally only got us through the first few episodes,
That's all they needed to get us through.
Yeah, it didn't take us long before Rupert, Colton, and Culpepper were cleared off the board and we could start getting down to the game of Survivor.
Yeah, and from there, great season. Early on, I don't know that there were so many great, memorable episodes. I think the first real turning point in the season was Caleb getting rid of Brad.
Agreed. But even early on, I think there was some interesting plays, and maybe I just think they're interesting because I was able to predict them. But, voting out Rachel as opposed to Sierra in order to try and get Tyson. That was something a little different, and, playing with the format of the show. Flipping on John because, he was being a little shady in the Candace thing. That was enough of an interest to pull us through. But, yeah, absolutely took off after that fact. And, yeah, throughout, there was people trying to do things in this game, and that's awesome because this is 27 variations in. You'd think we'd run through everything, and then look at that, they're going to rocks again. I mean, it was great. I'm not gonna bother trying to rank this amongst all the seasons, except to say that it at this moment feels very favorable. It gave me what I want out of a season of Survivor.
Exactly. I would grade it very well because it had the elements that I enjoy.
One element it didn't have that it had that we don't enjoy is Redemption Island. And just to quickly touch on Redemption Island, I love that Tina won because it was the final nail in our continuing series of Coffin of how terrible Redemption Island is. Because if it was Hayden coming back, would have been like, well, hey, we enjoyed him. Let's give him one more chance to try and, turn this game around. That was fun. If it was Laura M., you could be like, well, hey, she won and dominated. So if you care about this sort of thing, it's good for her. But No, it was the one that was a distant second every time, was basically pulled through one of them by Laura M, and then she just kind of randomly came in and didn't matter at all. And that, I think, tells you all you need to know about this apparatus's gameplay, is that it doesn't matter, so why are we doing it?
Right. I loved Laura M saying, "Hey, Tina, let me win." Who in their right mind says, "Yeah, okay, all yours"? She's not related to you in any way.
And if she was, apparently Laura M would never let her win, because that's a terrible message to send to children.
Yes, it is. Games with Sierra playing Candyland as a kid must have been a blast.
Yeah, she was stacking the deck.
But I will say, watching... I mean, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that challenge, but watching Tina after she came back, Tina is my mom's age. And watching her in that final immunity challenge, I was just stunned. My mom's not doing that. Just Tina's hopping around and running. Clearly, she didn't win or anything, but my mom would have seen that obstacle course and said, "Well, Jeff, it's been real. I'll just sit this one out."
Peace. I love Tina. I mean, she was, once the RS thing happened, she was inconsequential, but she was fun. She was great. She approached the game with the right amount of fun once she realized that it was over. I mean, not the immediate when she realized it was over, but once she had time to collect herself. And yeah, I mean, we haven't seen her in 13 years, however long it's been. I guess yes, she was on
probably
All-Stars.
10 because of All Stars.
Right,
yeah.
right, but we didn't really see her there. So,
right.
Yay! It was good to bring her back. In fact, between the goodwill I had for her and Tina, and to a lesser extent Aris, who, I enjoyed, but again, he was kind of the mid-season, boss level in the video game. I'm all for the show dipping farther back in its history and bringing back some of these players. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we made some cases earlier in this season for people that they should have brought back, and I think most of ours were fairly early pulls.
So they won't be bringing back any of these players for next season. I think it's time we should get into that.
So I think this has been rumored for a long time. I want to say that I've seen the brains versus brawn thing pitched so many different times, and it's never actually come to fruition. Well, it technically didn't this time either, because they're throwing in beauty as well, which is an interesting mix. The problem is the gimmick of the season doesn't necessarily define if it's going to be a good season. We've mentioned this so many times already. It's all about casting. If they get great representatives for each of those groups, it'll be a great season. It has nothing to do with the twist.
Yeah, we did a full segment on this of, best twists or whether twists matter. And one of the best seasons we ever liked was the most controversial, gimmick, which is Cook Island's Race Wars. That said, if they get too focused on their gimmick, which could happen with this one, then you get something like Nicaragua, where it's a bunch of cranky old people and a bunch of insufferable young people. So I could see this going off the rails in that respect, that it's haha, people will enjoy it when the vapid, beautiful people get theirs. When it's that kind of sucks when it's an entire tribe of suck. Or if they really focus, it's oh no, this attractive person is far too smart for our gimmick, so we can't cast them.
That's why they didn't pick me. I was far too attractive to fit in the brains tribe.
Yeah, I think, it was unfortunate you sent in all those tapes, because clearly they looked at it as he's a 3-tool player, we have no use for him.
Speaking of tools, so you did see the nude pics I sent in.
You gotta stop texting me those. This is a work phone. But yeah, well, my big question is, this show tends to have a vision of male beauty that would align to the idea of male brawniness. So how are they going to cast those 3 guys that are beautiful yet not athletic?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Are you going to see a waif-like model of a guy? I mean...
Yeah, just a bunch of androgynous guys wow, he's got the best lips on this show.
Right. He could be a Calvin Klein underwear model, but he's certainly not any sort of muscular physique.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of past contestants that they represented as really strong because, they had abs, really, their strength wasn't worth shit. Wow.
Beat button.
Yeah, let's just go with the beat. But I doubt they would do that. And like, that guy is buff, but not brawny. So
I kind of wondered then if the brawn guys are actually not going to be the, super cut Brad Culpepper guys, but more along the lines of like the Rupert old man big guy strength.
Yeah, that's a one way of thinking it. And well, actually, here's an even worse thought: is what are the brawny ladies going to look like?
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're not going to be athletic Kims or Parvati's. They're going to be Twyla's. I don't know.
No, they'd be. Who I'm actually thinking of when they first said that was Alicia. Remember way back Alicia? I think it was Australia. Yeah. That lady was jacked. Although Stephanie would also fall in that category, I think.
Yeah, Australia and All Stars. So that'll be interesting. Probably also worth discussing is that no returnees, 3 tribes, 18 people. So I think it'll be interesting for us as podcasters and as Fantasy Survivor players. We will have no preconceived notions. We're just basically going to have to base it on pre-show interviews and photographs.
Sure. And kudos to the Survivor producers for giving in to the fans' wishes and giving us an all-new player season. Now just don't blow the casting. That's all I'm saying. Just as long as the casting is good, the new player seasons, they're great.
Yeah, land yourself another Hayden, land yourself another Sierra, land yourself Malcolm or Denise, and we're good to go here. Land yourself a bunch of Nicaragua or the other tribe on Caramoan last year, then we're going to be in trouble. But yeah, I'm up for it because at the very least they need to repopulate the store a bit. We need more new players for the next All-Star season.
Right, you need someone else for Malcolm and Sierra to go against when they come back.
Yeah, but just for AV Club talk, and that will lead us into our next segment. Now that you don't have a favorite to pick from, how are you going to win again, Adam B?
Ooh, trash talking time.
Shots fired.
Okay, so as we mentioned, we're going to try something very different right now, and it's probably going to end disastrously, but we have a 3-person panel on with us right now. Our esteemed guests from previous points in the season. We have Adam B., M. Ratfink, and little Emma from the AV Club. Andy, this is going to go poorly.
No, I'm confident. 5-person alliances never break up. It's the backbone of what this show is about.
This is the Race Wars season.
I just want to go ahead and interject. We're going to go ahead and form an East Coast alliance, and you guys are doomed.
You don't know. I've been looking for idols all day.
Okay, now this is in Cochrane territory.
And we're already off the rails. That didn't take long. So I wanted to get you guys on, A, because it's the finale. When's the next time I'm going to get to talk to you? And then B, because we have some questions to run by you guys, some quick, fun stuff to end the season with. We have a spoiler already about what next season's about. They gave it away in the reunion, so it's not a big spoiler to discuss it here. But they are doing brains versus brawn versus beauty next season. So I wanted to pose to each of you, if you had the chance to do a theme season yourself, pick the theme, cast, whatever you want to do, what would your theme season be? And we'll start with Emma so everybody doesn't talk over each other.
All right, well, I actually had thought about this recently, and this is one that will never happen, and full of people who I don't even necessarily want, but I think it'd be kind of interesting. There's no way this would be really the title, but be either like Survivor Screwed or Survivor Are Bad, and it's all players who got maybe screwed by a twist or something, or maybe the game itself actually messed up.
Is Russell Hanson that group then?
Of course not.
What are you talking about? Russell is screwed by the very system of the game. It's unfair to let juries pick.
No, we'd have, one person who would never actually, this would, really never happen, but would be a possible example, would be your Stacey Stillman. But that, I don't even care about. But, you could have, Michelle Yee from Fiji, because that was a really bizarre twist of, we've merged, but then we're splitting at the challenge, and then only the team that lost that challenge votes, and so she wasn't with any of her, actual people, and that was weird. Or, Pascal, who would never
Purple Rock
be back because he's old, but, they should, come on, he's really old. They would have, they shouldn't have done the Purple Rock at that time. And then there's only so many times where maybe the game actually screwed someone over, so you might have to, like, actually include some, like, questionable ones, like Xi'an, maybe you could bring her back again, Thailand, the whole, like, not merge thing, or maybe the guy who's not James, I think Aaron on China, who had the challenge thrown for him, to get rid of him when there was that, like, little, mini swap thing. You could even...
Or like Russell Hands, who had the challenge thrown for him.
Oh yeah,
that's
he was
okay.
screwed that
Okay,
time.
fair point. But I don't think we need to bring him back that many times. You could even do a Vetus with the whole Laura. Like, is that allowed? I mean, obviously they didn't stop her, but being like questionable, or any sort of questionable exit type situation.
Can I suggest one you've forgotten?
Of course.
Savage! You got screwed by the Outcast twist.
Is that what happened? It's been so long since. I mean, what year did that come out?
Yeah, we get it. You're young.
Yeah, you don't need to point out that you're young again. We get it.
Well, like I remember that to an extent, but like honestly, until I started like going on AV Club and being like way more nerdy about Survivor and reading about it and stuff, I forgot that the Outcast thing like even was a thing. Pearl Islands, I remembered Rupert and all the weird Johnny Fairplay stuff, and Sandra being awesome.
Could I suggest one other name for someone who was screwed by the game?
Of course.
Jeff Varner from Outback, who got screwed over by one of the dumbest tiebreaker rules that the show has ever had. Whoever had the most previous votes get voted out, as opposed to, drawing purple rocks or a fire starting challenge.
Right.
And the only reason why the other tribe knew that he had votes cast against him is because Kimmy Kappenberg, who had long been kicked out of the game, had blabbed to one of the other members of the tribe.
All right, yeah, I can respect that. As an option, not that happening to him. Obviously, that's that. There was also, this probably wouldn't really apply because the situation, how the game went and stuff, but I remember in Africa, they had that challenge where you had to know trivia about the tribe mates, and it was like, which person doesn't have pierced ears or something, or doesn't have any piercings, and they had one acceptable answer, but there was actually another girl who didn't, and Lex had done the other girl, but they didn't realize it until later, and yada yada yada. But like, I don't think he got voted out that time, so that I remember at least. So it's not like that big of a deal.
Well, Lex was also screwed over for a stack of greenbacks, so you can count that.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah.
But I think the incident that you're talking about, Emma, there was a lawsuit that arose over it, though.
Yeah, I guess because it was like an immunity challenge, and I guess maybe had he won that challenge, that could have. I can't remember what stage of the game it was, but I should, because like it was really in our news, because I've mentioned this, but Lex is from my hometown, so like all that stuff is like really, like I really know about that, but obviously not well enough to remember at what point in the game it happened.
According to Wikipedia, which I'm pulling up right now, you were correct. It was the who had no piercing, and you were right. Lex was the one who gave the alternate correct answer. And basically, it would have thrown him into a tie with Kim Johnson had he been given credit. And so what they did was, because he placed third and Tom placed fourth, they both got the $100,000 runner-up prize rather than the numbers they would have gotten for third and fourth place. I wasn't aware of a lawsuit there, though. The only lawsuit that I could think of was the Stacey Stillman.
Stacey Stillman.
Well, maybe it was a threatened lawsuit that caused the $100,000 payout. Or maybe they were just doing that to head off one. Yeah,
it sounds more like a settlement. Like they just said, like they sort of really like, hey, that's not fair. And Survivor maybe was like, you're right. Like, sorry.
But lawsuit, I mean, I hate to, keep my lawyer hat on, but, they signed the contract when they sign up for the show that basically says, yeah, we're going to give you rules, but really we could do whatever we want with you. And if you're screwed, you're screwed. You signed up for this show.
To put on my competing lawyer hat, I would just say that rarely do companies pay out contestants more than than the contract says they will, unless they fear a lawsuit.
And to put on my judge hat, order in the court. I will say that if Stacey Stillman has a Google alert for her name, it is going off way more from our past 2 episodes than it has in years.
We should tag this one Stacey Stillman.
Yeah, I was gonna say her Google alert's not gonna do anything if it's just, audio.
You haven't seen our metadata. All right, Adam. So what would your pick be?
I want them to do an all-female season.
Wow.
I worry that they wouldn't do it right. I worry that it would be, the Jiggle and Jeff Probst's condescension season. But at the same time, it would be interesting just to see the dynamics of what it would be like to have a season with no dominant men because there are no men at all, and to see just how power would be divided and established and how the show would go. I think you'd have fairer immunity challenges. I think it would just be, as Survivor was in the beginning, an interesting social experiment, and it would be a nice way for the show to get back to its roots that way.
So what would they call it? Survivor MILF Island, or
Survivor Chicks, man.
Survivor Amazon 2? I don't know.
Survivor Boobs.
And that'd be interesting. I mean, the other thing that I would love to see them do at some point is to move away from tropical climates for once and do a Survivor in the Arctic. I just feel like for the longest time, it doesn't really matter where the show is. It's just, we're on a beach somewhere and there's fish, and the local environment hasn't mattered at all. And why not have the environment matter again somehow?
Well, we're headed into what, our third straight Philippines season at this point?
Fourth, I think.
Fourth, I think. Next one will be the fourth.
Yeah, next one's the fourth.
As long as they don't do Survivor boobs in the tundra, then we're good.
Well, that would be very feminist.
It would be. Allow them to cover up and operate as women without body image issues.
That's right. And then the winner is the one that cut off her left one to compete in archery. I'm sorry, I'm getting the mythology all wrong. Mr. Fink, what do you got?
Well, I'm going with something obvious, but I'd love the all-winner season. I mean,
that's mine too.
Why not? I figured one of you guys would have picked that one.
Oh, I just figured that was a given.
So, in your all-winner season, are you having? We're assuming this is going to be season 30. Then, are you going to have 29 all-winners back? Well, 28, I should say.
That would be interesting. Like
4 tribes of 7?
Super show?
Yeah,
4 tribes of 7. How would you... Okay, so would you have double eliminations? Would you expand the time on the island? That's a good question. I think that'd be really cool. 4 tribes of 7, you could do 28. Unless, they have another returnee season and someone pulls a Sandra, which won't happen.
Right.
That would be really cool, actually, like the supersized season, the extra large season.
Well, what they could do is, if it's 4 tribes, then the 2 that win in place, they are immune, the other 2 aren't.
Yeah, that would work.
You could even have, if you really needed to get rid of it quickly, you win immunity, all other 3 have to go to tribal, and, only do that for a couple weeks, and then you can split it up into 2 tribes again, like normal.
But ultimately, I don't care. They don't need to bring back everybody. I think waiting is giving them a bit of a cushion that some people aren't going to come back. I believe Boston Rob when he says he's done, because at this point he can only look worse. And there's probably a few other people that are like, we don't really need you back, Vecepia. So
Richard Hatch may not be able to leave the United States.
Well, that's what they got to do in Hawaii.
Actually, that restriction has been lifted.
I was going to say, that's got to be up by now, right?
Yeah, I think he can come back now.
Yeah, because in the awkward Caramoan reunion, he had went to, and they had that weird thing with him and Rudy. He was apparently in, Aruba or something, so...
But yeah, so it gives them a bit of cushion to pick some of the better ones. But that said, I would like to see more than 20.
Yeah, I think a more than 20 season could actually be really interesting.
And yeah, basically, for this, I've always had 2 ideas. It's either, I want a Champions season or bust. But my other idea was Brains versus Brawn, so they almost got that one right.
That was actually my other idea, too.
It's kind of the interesting thing about this upcoming season is, it's nice that we're getting an all-new player season, but wouldn't this be, the most fun thing to fan cast?
Oh, of course.
Totally.
I mean, we could fan cast this with All-Stars, and it would be really fun.
Yeah, I think we ventured into that in the AV Club comments with a few names in there. All right, so mine is Survivor, Blood versus Kibble, People versus their dogs.
Nobody's voting out their dog, John.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, is you're going to have a dog win because no one's voting out their dog. Actually, my suggestion would be the Master Strategist season. Whether the person won or not, whoever was the premier strategist from their season. And yes, this probably means that Russell Hantz comes back, but you're going to have the best strategists from their seasons. So you're going to get Malcolm, who's coming back anyway. You'll get a Russell Hantz, Boston Rob, presuming that he wants to come back, Richard Hatch, of course, Kim for sure. It's pretty similar to an all-winner season, but it kind of separates the wheat from the chaff and gives you an excuse to not invite back certain winners.
Like Fabio.
Can I just say bravo for nobody suggesting the really stupid first booties one? That one always comes up amongst fans, and I don't get it.
I don't want to see it. There might be like 5 first boots that I'd want to see again, but I don't even know about that.
There have been some terrible first boots in this show.
Yeah.
Usually they're the first boot for a reason, and God bless them, they're gone. Like, I would extend that, like, if they wanted to do, like, a pre-merge season, like, I'm enough of a nerd that I could fill that season up, sure, but...
I could live with pre-merge.
But, give me a break with these first boots,
Cat would
not
be
even
happy.
all alive, I think.
Well, if you want to do a pre-merge season, you just need to find pre-merge people that have married NFL players, and they can all come back.
Is she the only pre-merge player to come back? Well,
Francesca.
Okay, I already remember there's someone else.
Who Andy forgot.
Come on, Andy.
That was embarrassing.
Now, there's also a fella named Boston Rob, so...
Yeah.
That's true.
Was he pre-merge?
Yep, in Marquesas.
I've never seen Marquesas. So.
Barely, but yeah.
All right, what's next on the docket, Judge?
All right, so... Of course, unfortunately, this time there was no player of the season. I'm fairly convinced it wouldn't have gone to Tyson. In this crowd, though, I'm suspecting that it probably would. So give me your player of the season. Give me just a couple quick reasons why they deserved it. And it can't be Tyson is your only rule, which makes this a much harder question for me. This time we'll start with Adam.
I have to go with Sierra. I thought she played an interesting game. She was just a fun narrator to watch. The fact that she did decide to get her mom voted out was, I think, a rightfully interesting and bold move. I like that she went balls out to choose the Purple Rocks, which was the right strategic choice for her at the time. If I can't go with Tyson, I'll go with Sierra.
Andy, let's go you now.
Sierra, next question.
Oh, come on. Too easy.
Sometimes the answer is right. No. Yeah, I mean, come on. What else would I say? I mean, there was a lot of great players, but no, I think if Tyson wasn't going to win this one, it was going to be Sierra. That's what the edit showed us. She made a lot of the bigger counter moves, in part because she was around longer to make one than, say, Hayden. But yeah, it's Sierra. But I'm more interested in your answer, Judge. I know we got these guests here, but did you notice that there was 19 other players this season? Or?
This wasn't called Survivor Tyson? Yeah, okay. So mine, I'm going to break with you two, and I'll say Hayden, just because, to me, Hayden almost pulled Sierra into that rock draw situation. She did admit that she came to the conclusion at Tribal Council to draw rocks there, and I don't think that she does that without Hayden goading her on and making the right arguments. Hayden made great arguments, and it didn't always work, but he really fought at the end and impressed me. I came into this season not expecting much at all from him, and he really exceeded expectations. Vitas would have won this for me, but Vitas blew it by not giving his vote to Tyson at the end. I'm a bitter juror myself.
All right, Emrat, you've been Judge's partner in arms of the anti-Sierra Boys Brigade. What would your answer be?
I'm going to go with Vitas, actually, and the reason why is not because he played the best game out of the non-Tyson crowd, but I think he was the most fascinating to watch. There's something about seeing someone who is both who could be really, really honest and at the same time really, really manipulative, and it was just really fun to watch. It's like one of the few times when you can actually see a social game at work, and you could see how it's swaying people while it's at work. So I thought he was just awesome to watch, personally.
Yeah, he used the appearance of honesty and vulnerability as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. So even though he didn't get as far as some of the others, I honestly think that he would have won an all-newbie season if he was on it. And I think he would have kimmed it.
All right, little Emma, in true Jeff Probst fashion, we saved you for the end. So now you've got to dig deep and give us your answer.
Well, it actually kind of worked out that you saved me for the end because I've, been thinking about this. And I had a really hard time deciding. And for me, it's between Sierra, Hayden, and Vitas. Because I feel like Vitas, it was just really fun to watch, and you could really see he knew what he's doing. And he's a fan of the game. Like, I believe, he said a lot of stuff. Like, I believe that he's actually a fan of the game, and you always love to see that. But he didn't make it there very far, so it's hard to really call him player of the season. And then Hayden, I agree that his arguments were so good. Like, that was so fun to watch him do that in Tribal Council. And, we knew because of the previews that there'd be rocks, going into it, but I never thought that they'd decide on rocks at Tribal Council, And that was so fun to watch him do that. But I feel like Hayden was only interesting to watch in, 2 episodes. And so that makes it hard for him to pick. And then Sierra, I gotta have love for the scrawny girl making it that far, Respect. She won a challenge. That was cool. And, going to rocks was cool. I guess voting out her mom is interesting. I think it's a little overblown, sort of like the whole dead grandma thing with Johnny Fairplay of how much did that really change anything?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hall of Famer Johnny Fairplay.
Well, it's actually really funny. Sierra in an interview said that everyone was making a big deal of that, and she was like, "I didn't think that was a big deal."
Seconded.
She said that she didn't think it was a big deal.
And I think her actual big move is the rocks. And she should have done that a week before. She should have gone with Caleb, Katie, and Hayden. And I've heard her interviews where she explains why she didn't feel solid with Hayden or whatever. But no, if you're gonna flip when there's the majority, not when. And it was the right thing for her to do with the rocks, but they wouldn't have had to worry about the rocks if she had just switched when it made sense.
Well, technically they would have, because Tyson played an idol that night.
Did that? Well, yeah, but I mean,
they didn't know that, obviously, in the decision making. Although everybody now says they suspected it was a possibility.
They didn't vote for Tyson, though.
No, he's saying the night that Sierra didn't switch, they voted for Tyson.
Right, but Tyson is less likely to have had those feelings if Sierra doesn't run to him like she did.
Fair enough.
So,
that's true.
If she just listened and yes, Hayden and Caleb, that's a good idea. Now let's pretend that we're still with Tyson because we think he might have an idol and we don't want to make him nervous like you're supposed to do.
So what's your level of confidence that all those new players wouldn't have been able to pull one over on Tyson? Because mine's about 1%.
I mean, he was shocked. He seemed pretty shocked that Hayden and Caleb were against him. If we believe what he said to Jervis, which why not? Because it's just him and Jervis. He was ready to take... he says to Jervis that he was ready to take them to the Final Four. Now, maybe he would have wanted to keep Monica, but I believe he probably would have kept them at least to the Final 5, maybe?
Well, no, it's happened, but, we're all talking about the second best players here, but Tyson was the best, and one of the reasons why he was the best this season is he was really attuned to everything that was going on, so...
True, and Tyson was really good this season, but it's not like Tyson's never been tricked with idol stuff before, you know what I mean?
Wait. Can we talk a little bit more about how good Tyson was this season and whether there was any competition among ourselves as to how good Tyson and the other players might have been this season?
No, sorry, John and I already talked about that. Next question.
I was going to say, you're going to twist my arm and talk about Tyson? Okay, if you insist.
No, absolutely. Let's open the floor to our guests here. How good was Tyson this season? And I'll let you start.
He was good enough. He was good enough to win this season. It was not something I'm going to remember as an all-time great season. He was not dominant in the challenges. He did not have to play that complicated of a strategic game. He had his group of 3. He was an amusing enough narrator. He found the idols when he had to. That was enough to win this season. So look, it's always impressive if you win this game, but, we've had so many people who have won this in more compelling fashion before that, I liked it, but, I wasn't blown away by it.
All right, Fink, prove him wrong.
Yeah, okay. I think he was probably one of the biggest targets coming into the game, probably because people thought that he could go on an immunity run. And I think that he managed to change his game, and he was kind of like Indiana Jones, one step ahead of the boulder the entire time. And I think that's really hard to do, to kind of be that front runner for so long and not get tripped up. I'm not saying that he's like an all-timer. I don't think this is as good as, say, Kim, who did the same thing. She was the front runner for almost, the entire time of the post-merge when she was playing, and it wasn't even that she didn't get tripped up. No one was even thinking of tripping her up. Tyson, people were trying to get him, and he just managed to stay one step ahead. So I think it was a very good game. But, yeah, I mean, it's not like a top 5.
All right, Emma, where do you stand on this?
Honestly, I mean, I don't think there's much else to be said about Tyson. Like, yeah, he played really well. No one else really came that close.
So let's instead talk about who you do actually think is the best. There's rumors that fly, although Probst has said, maybe not. If season 30 does end up being the last season of the show, if you were involved somehow in the casting, you could only decide 3 players that got to return in the entire course of the show. Which 3 players would you pick? And we'll go back in the opposite direction. Emma, you start first.
And first, we'll just say with the caveat that this is a fantasy world where everybody that is still alive would be willing and available to come back. So you can pick anybody you want.
So, yeah, scratch off your BB pick because he is too soon?
Too soon.
Not soon
That's
enough.
too late, really.
I mean, that one's not as sad because at least he was decently old. Anyway, my 3, I, like many of us, dearly hoped for season 30 to be the all-winner season. And so for my 3 choices, I picked my favorite winners who have only been on one season.
Oh, you're going to take all my picks.
That's probably.
You're taking all my picks. I just sense it.
All right, so I got Yul Kwan, Kim Spradlin, because duh, and Denise Stapley, because I think she was awesome. And that kind of, you gotta vary in those 3 picks, you have a guy, a girl, and an older woman as well. I don't know, I thought they were all really good games to watch. All people I think it would be interesting to see them play again.
All right, let's throw it to Adam now.
I want to go back to the beginning. If we are really ending this show in season 30, I want them to go back to Borneo. I want them to run every single challenge that they did during that first season, just do it again. I want them to bring back Stacey Stillman. I want them to bring back Greg Lewis. I want them to bring back either Dr. Sean or Dirk Bean. And yeah, actually, you know what? And I realize this now gets to 5 names. Kelly Wigglesworth belongs back on that show. Someone who was ambivalent about alliances the whole time, who had a nice, strong physical game. Now that she's gotten to see how this game is played out, I would love to see what she could do with it now.
So if we're going back to season 1, would one of the rewards be like a slice of pizza as well?
A Snickers bar?
Yeah.
A beer with Jeff Probst?
Have them do the thing. Have them bring back the incredibly rare subjective reward challenge. The make a distress signal based, with these supplies. I mean, go back to all of that.
Could we have it back on Borneo as well?
Yeah.
Wait, if they have to do all the same challenges, does that mean they have to do the awkward Blair Witch Project tie-in?
Oh, good God. I forgot about that one. Maybe hold up a video camera to yourself while you're... Actually, that's a style of challenge we haven't seen in quite some time. We're going to sit down with Jeff and he's going to tell you a story, and then you have to go to all these places and find the trivia answers. They've completely gotten rid of that. I mean, it's a stupid challenge. It is a lame challenge.
That's the reason they got rid of it.
Yeah.
But at least it's a different challenge. It's not swim for a while and then put together a puzzle. We've had enough of that.
Well, what they do now sometimes is they have you count certain things to unlock a combination lock, like they did in the final episode here.
I think what it is Jeff doesn't want to inject himself that much into the show. He likes to...
Oh, that was cute.
But yeah, we'll bring it all the way back to the beginning, and it could, they'll use the final shot of the series as the first shot then, which I think is a close-up of Matthew Fox's eye or something. I might be getting confused about my island shows here.
All right, Andy, give us your 3.
All right, so, Emma kind of snaked me a bit here. My answer for everything is, if it's name somebody, awesome. My first answer is usually Kim, because she is. I guess I won't get to pick her for our Hall of Fame picks next year, so at least there's that. And also, I am also going to say Yul again. Almost just because I feel like people need to be reminded of how great Yul was. There's probably a concern, and it's probably why he hasn't been interested in coming back, that he can't really top his past performance. But at the same time, I don't see Yul being like an early target in any kind of scenario, because he's useful to any tribe he's ever going to be on, and he's a useful partner in an alliance because he's strategic and he's honest. So if only just so people be like, oh yeah, that guy, maybe he is more worthy for these things than Johnny Fairplay. I thought about Rob C. He's one of my favorite survivors. It would be nice to see him get another crack at it. But honestly, if this is the last season of the show, I want him in the podcast studio. I think I would need that to fully complete my Survivor experience. He should be interviewing everybody that isn't on this show in final interviews about Survivor. So sorry, Rob. Instead, I went with Malcolm because he's really fun and good.
Everybody loves Malcolm.
He's pretty fun.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm somebody who pretends to be this big Survivor expert, and I always go with the most populous choices, don't I?
Malcolm, at least though, is popular for a variety of reasons. He's popular with I think most types of fans, not just the who we talk about, the quote unquote average fans who like the cute guy who's charming and good at challenges. We also like him because he's strategic and he uses his charm as part of the game. And
no, Andy likes him because he's cute and he's good at challenges.
Well, he's certainly dreamy. I'm not going to deny that, but
I will.
He still has something more to give. He didn't get a chance to he had no soak time in between his two seasons.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of bringing people back twice in a row. I just don't think it's fair to really anyone. In Heroes vs. Villains, nobody knew who Russell was, and that's kind of eh. And then, I don't know. I think they need downtime. I think it's weird to do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they do it to maintain some momentum. It's hey, people really love that Russell guy, or that Rupert guy, or Malcolm, or kind of James and Amanda. But yeah, I think he'll be that much better, and he was pretty good his first time around. His second time around, he was kind of put in a box, but even there, he was entertaining. I want to see what a little bit of a seasoned Malcolm would be like. And I also kind of have a feel like he'd be the rock star that everybody kind of wants to hang out with for a bit.
All right. I think we didn't get to your picks yet, did we?
No, not yet.
Let's hear them now.
Okay, my 3 picks are Hatch, Hatch, and Hatch. Because can we bring back Hatch for a final season? No, I was going to say Hatch, Yul, and Kim, but you guys already talked about Yul and Kim.
Hatch.
So I'll talk about Hatch. Look, he's the first winner. He made the game what it is. I don't think the show would still be around if he hadn't won. And frankly, he's fun to watch. He's not a winner who's boring. He gives you something. So yeah, I'm a Hatch fan. So bring him back.
I'll put the caveat that he's fun to watch when he's not, sexually harassing.
Sexually harassing someone. Agreed.
Exactly. He was really offensive the second time around, and just incredibly full of himself in a way that wasn't amusing the second time around. I really have no interest in seeing him again, and I'm actually kind of shocked if we're talking about favorite people we want to see again, that nobody in this segment has said Andrew Savage yet.
Well, to be fair, Savage would be, close on my list, but I really want to see Yul and Kim again, and if it's a final season, I feel like Hatch should be
there's
there.
definitely plenty of other people I would love to see back, but if we're, if we're limiting it that much, plus I forced myself to have the caveat that they had to win, because I'm forcing the 30th season to be an all-winner season. So.
I will say, in Hatch's benefit, there's a good chance he's been humbled since the last time we saw him. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and here's another name that I'd like to see back for a third time, I guess. I'd love to see JT back. His Heroes v Villains performance was not the greatest. Dear Russell.
I still defend him.
But no, I like JT, and I think he's a good player, and I think that I'm pretty sure if there was an all-winner season that he'd be there.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, though. I'd love to see Steven back.
Hey.
Yeah.
Let's not go trampling on other people's picks here.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Sorry,
there's one of us that hasn't given picks yet. All right, so I do get to actively participate here, and I will say that my list, let's see if you guys pick up on a pattern. So I picked Steven because I would like to see him back on the show. He came in second place to one of the more dominating winners that we've ever had. Not that he played the most strategic game, but JT was clearly the most beloved player that season. And I'm also going to add Cochran because I don't care that he's won. I still find Cochran amusing. I think it's funny that he's terrible at challenges. I think his commentaries and interviews that he gives are excellent. And, I mean, I watch the show because it's entertaining. So you guys might have noticed the pattern here. I've got two nerds. So my third pick is, of course, Colleen from season 1 because she's very hot.
Dude, I wanted to be Colleen so bad in that first season.
There were times this season where Sierra gave me little flashes of Colleen. Like she was like the Colleen 2.0.
Get that stuff out of here. Not even close.
Also, I know you guys know I wouldn't mind seeing Cochran back.
You guys couldn't see it, but Emma was doing the call me gesture right there when she said Cochran's name.
So we didn't prepare this question at all, but actually just this discussion made me think of one more that I'm just going to throw right at you guys. You got to think fast. So we just named a bunch of people we'd really like to see again. Pick one person you hope they would never see again.
I have two right now.
I think we all have the same one person.
Well, then go ahead.
Colton and Brandon.
Oh, I have a different one. Russell.
Oh.
What did Russell Swan do to deserve that?
I don't want to see him again either. So that's
Actually, I don't want to see him. I don't think he can play the game. But if I don't want Brandon Hance involved in anything in public ever.
John?
You know what? I totally agree with Emma's answers, and I need to give a different answer because I don't want to just bite on her answers. So I'm going to give an answer that I don't think the rest of you will give. I'll say Ozzy. I don't want to see Ozzy again, ever.
No, I'd pick that too, actually.
I think we've gotten as much as we can out of Ozzy. I don't think if we see him again, there's going to be anything different. And yeah, there's no reason to see him again.
Can I say something about Ozzy real quick?
No.
Please?
Yes.
So when Survivor Cook Islands first came out, I was 16.
Boo.
So I totally had a crush on But I had a crush on Ozzy. He was cute. He did all the challenges, yada, 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 yada. But as I've mentioned, since going on the AV Club, my Survivor nerddom has increased exponentially. And so, I've rewatched a couple seasons then, and I always really liked Cook Island, so I rewatched it. And, I had already noted that, I've liked Ozzy less and less each season, Micronesia and then, South Pacific. But rewatching Cook Islands as a sort of adult, no, not that cool. And, the mutiny, saved his game. He would have been screwed without that. He would have never gotten as far as he did without the mutiny because it bonded the I2, is that how I2?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
He bonded, the four of them together because, Yul was, hardly on his side before,
No, yeah, he was definitely the outsider. The four of those six was Yul, Becky, and then Penner and Candace, actually.
Yeah. And so they would have voted out Ozzy as soon as he didn't win immunity if they could, but they needed him.
I believe they were talking about it. We might need to lose one to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Adam, do you have a pick?
Well, in addition to all the fine names that you've already named, Rupert. We have had enough of Rupert on our television sets.
Good call.
So I'm actually going to go in a different way. I don't disagree with any of them, but if I actually had to pick one person, because honestly, I could go for another Russell. I don't want it, but basically one of two things would happen if Russell Hance was ever brought on the show. One, he would change, and that could be interesting. Or two, more likely, he would be the exact same and he'd get voted out immediately, and I'd find that kind of satisfying. So instead, I'm going with a player I actually really liked at one time and have liked, but it's been diminishing returns each time. I don't want to see Colby again, just because every time he comes back, he's just a little worse, and it's just it's sad. It's Michael Jordan with the Wizards, or Willie Mays, out there with the Mets. So it's just Colby.
The diminishing prowess of Colby Donaldson throughout Survivor is indeed, it's very sad.
Jeff Probst is weeping quietly into a towel at Colby's downfall.
So it's I want to remember the good Colby. I want him to make the Hall of Fame at some point. And I'm guessing at some point everybody will. But, let's not go out there again and him just be another cranky old man Colby. The fall of Colby is a stunning reminder of our own mortality.
What are you talking about? Mortality? I'm going to be young forever. I can't even rent a car without paying additional fees.
And, Fink, did we get yours on this one?
Yeah, I chimed in with Russell.
Gun to your head, Fink. Which Hans do you bring back if you have to pick one?
Oh, well, then Russell, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because and I will say this. I actually enjoyed Samoa. Because I thought it was actually kind of fun to watch the evil mastermind at work. But again, diminishing returns. I guess that's my biggest criteria, diminishing returns.
All right, so we're going to give you guys just a couple minutes each. Emma, that's a couple minutes. Just final thoughts of this season that we just finished watching. And we'll start with Adam.
Oh,
you said Emma earlier, and it totally threw me off, and I think it threw off Adam too.
yeah, I mean, that threw me off, the whole calling on someone else.
And first of all, how dare you claim I talk too much? 'Cause I'm a woman?
It's the Probst and Andy that insists that you talk too much.
I mean, he's not wrong, but...
I really don't have a lot to say about this season. It was a pretty good season of Survivor that had more energy and tension early in the show than it did late in the show. You know, when somebody is playing their game as well as Tyson played his game here, there's going to be less drama in the last few hours. And, you know, you can admire it, but, you know, certainly it's not as exciting as a season in which the outcome feels like it's more in doubt. I mean, Survivor has righted its ship. I mean, there were a couple seasons that were a little bit dodgy, but it was a good season, and I look forward to the next one.
All right, Emma.
Well, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I think it's been getting a little, not so much in our corner of the internet, but it's been getting like a little more praise than I think it's really due. Like, for example, Gordon Holmes said it's his favorite since Heroes vs. Villains. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just because I really liked Philippines. But, I don't know. I mean, I think it's up, like, since Heroes vs. Villains, I think it's, you know, in the top 3. But I feel like it's basically Karamoan, but with a better pre-merge. Like, you had, post-merge, you had a pretty clear winner and a few crazy tribals. And, like, it was fun. It was a fun season. But I haven't thought about all of them enough to really know this, but, like, I feel like it's probably in the top 10, but it's not in my top 5.
And time.
How dare you?
And Rat Fink, what do you think?
I think my opinion lines up pretty well with the other two. It was a good season. I have, like, 7 or 8 seasons, which are, my obvious, unimpeachable top ones. It's not one of those, but it's right behind them with that, like, next batch. It's, it was a good season. I agree with Emma. It wasn't as good as Philippines. I think it was about as good as Karamoan, though the pre-merge was better, so that makes a big difference. And, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It had a really interesting pre-merge where people were actually trying to figure the game out again. And then it had a post-merge where, even though the winner seemed inevitable, it still managed to inject some drama with rocks. We got rocks, guys. How often do we see rocks?
Twice. We see them twice.
The big anchor on this season, though, was Redemption Island, especially Redemption Island in the post-merge, because it just sapped the post-merge proceedings of a lot of drama. It took up a lot of time, and I think that Sierra realized that she was number 4 at Final 6 at Tribal. You're telling me that without a reward challenge, she wouldn't have realized that earlier?
Good point.
Reward challenges probably exposed that earlier and could be a totally different season.
I guess I should have clarified. I meant, what did you guys think of this season of our podcast?
Best one yet.
Number 1.
And also the worst.
Fair criticism. Just like the person on Reddit who said that we were not as professional as Rob Cesternino's podcast.
I'm the one who showed you that, but that was hilarious. I was like, dude.
Yes, my podcast studio is not quite as luxurious as his.
I think you could use more women.
I could. Oh, you mean on the podcast?
I'm going to tell your wife you said that.
What are you talking about? We had women on like 5 different shows this year.
What?
We are inclusive. You don't see that many women on Rob Has a Podcast.
That's a good point. We probably had more women on this season, you're right, than Rob did.
Half of them had to sleep with the host to get on the show.
Hey, rules are rules.
That's not a nice thing to say about our friend in Australia. Anyway, I do want to thank you guys all for helping us with this crazy little venture we've had, and we want to thank everybody that's been listening. Hopefully we've added somewhat to your Survivor enjoyment this season, and what the heck, let's do it again next year, John.
I'm in. And let's give some quick plugs if in the off season, because remember there's going to be another Survivor season fairly soon. It's probably a little over a month away. If in the off season you'd like to contact us, you can hit us on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. You can send us an email, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. You can do something with us on Tumblr.
You can follow them on Tumblr.
You can follow and retumble or something. Reblog and put the little heart button on there.
It's called liking it. You can like their post.
You can do all sorts of exciting things on Tumblr.
God, you're old.
Throw us some animated cat gifs. All those things. Is there any other way they can contact us, Andy?
You can leave a voicemail at JR Purple Rock on Skype. And just a note that we are going to be changing somehow, some way. We don't want to pay for this thing anymore, so I encourage you to follow us on all those different channels so that you can find out where we're going to be. Our name might be a little different, but we're not going to White Rock, darn it. We are Purple Rock through and through. But you might need to change your iTunes settings, so we'll let you guys know when that happens.
One more plug before we go. If any of you aren't AV Clubbers and you want to join in on our Survivor League that we do, there's a small group league that you're not going to be invited to if you're not already in the know about it. But there's also the Pick 4 League that everybody can join. So if you're interested in playing, come out next season, get there to the AV Club comments by the start of the second episode and pick 4 players from the season. I'll keep track of the scores through the whole season and post them up there. It's a fun time. We should point out, Adam B., 2-time champion of that AV Club League that I mentioned. Congratulations again, Adam.
Thanks a lot.
Your reign of terror ends next season.
It statistically, it really should by this point, you know?
Yeah, it's actually just one of the better communities, and I would hope this chat that you've heard tonight would prove it. And to our other AV Club listeners, I don't want you to think that we're just one big alliance and clique here. We'll totally boot these 3 and have some of you guys on next season.
Diego, the cage, I'm looking at you.
Ms. Wooza,
you're in.
But yes, thank you again to MRAT, to Emma, to Adam B., to our other guests who I've already forgotten because, they were pre-merged boots. And we'll see you all next season.
Boom, theme music.